and welcome to Looks Good From Here, the podcast where we are getting in behind the lives of creators that are building the website, seeing what it actually takes to run their businesses, how they got here, a little bit more of a sneak peek than we get kind of daily on the blog. Today, I have my guest, who I'm sure is familiar to a lot of you, Paige Brunton. She is a fabulous educator. I'm sure if you've been in the Squarespace ecosystem for a while, or even just generally on the internet, you may have bumped into some of Paige's things. She is a fabulous mentor and gives so generously to her community. I know the first time I just curiously signed up for one of Paige's kind of free tutorials, webinars that she had on live, I was blown away by the value and just the generosity that you pour into that, even in a live webinar. So Paige, I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you so much for joining us. I know everyone's going to find this so valuable.
Thank you. That was a very kind introduction. I appreciate that. That's very sweet.
Well, it is true. I think you offer so much to the community, and I just think that is an incredible gift to everyone that is slaving away on the internet trying to make their businesses work. So we really appreciate what you bring to this community.
Thank you. Well, I'm happy to do it.
Well, I'm sure a lot of people have heard your story or can find that in other places, but just for a little bit of context before we get started today, you started as a graphic designer and then now you've worked your way into this place where you're mostly just educating. Do you want to just give us a little brief history of your kind of business, how you got to where you are and what it looks like today?
Yeah. So you actually overstate my qualifications. So don't have a direct graphic design degree at all and felt very fraudy about becoming a website designer, seeing that I have a degree in recreation and leisure, which was a very fun.
That's fun.
Yeah, it was a great time, but it has nothing to do with business or with design or marketing or anything. And so basically, I bumped into a very charming German guy in a bar, as you do during my master's degree. Decided to move abroad to be with him, and then landed in Europe and was like, I don't speak the local language. I need to somehow work. And so then I figured out, I had started a travel blog and I realized I was like, travel blog, that's going to take a little while to, make real income because that requires building an audience. And I was like, well, what I do know how to do from having built this travel blog is I know how to build a website. And so I realized that was probably my fastest method towards offering a paid, some sort of service like website design, which tends to be a pretty good, online job in the landscape of online jobs. So that's actually what started it. But I don't have a graphic design degree at all, or business or marketing. And so, yeah, felt a little bit fraudy when I started the whole business for sure.
That's actually so good to hear because I'm sure a lot of people listening are in the same boat, right? I have a fashion design degree.
Oh, damn.
How useless is that in my current world?
Well, I mean, it's at least designy. I don't know. It's something. It's closer than recreation.
I mean, but I think it's really cool to hear the different backgrounds people come into and then just finding their strengths along the way. And I think that's something that you've done so well, is actually just figuring out what you can do really well in business and what you can offer, and then just being really genuine in the way that you put that together. So I think that's really inspiring.
Yeah, thank you. But yeah, that's how it started. So just needing a job, moved abroad. That's pretty much how that started.
It's amazing. With those first clients, when you first started your web design business, were they kind of local to the area that you were living in, or were you finding
No.
this overseas?
So again, because I didn't speak the local language, I was like, okay, because it was so frustrating because you would hear how other websites, I would creep. I had no idea how you found clients or managed a business or anything. And so I just started following other people and reading blogs and trying to piece together how you start a business. And everyone was like, oh, I get my clients from referrals. And I was like, well, that's kind of not helpful if I don't have a first client to refer me to other clients. And then the other thing which people would say is oh yeah, well, I started with so-and-so who I knew, or I went to some entrepreneur meetups or small business owner association meetups in my town. And I was like, live in a place I don't speak the language, not really an option.
Yeah,
So
both of those are very much off the table. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. So yeah, I basically never worked with anyone within the country in which I lived, which was interesting. And I also was kind of nervous about the whole sharing that I was living like very different time zone too. So most of my customers ended up being Canadian and American, couple British as well. And so anyways, I was just like, oh, I don't know if they'd be turned off by the idea that I'm like halfway across the world or I don't know, across an
Yeah.
ocean. So I actually really like kept on the DL where I didn't it wasn't no one asked and I just didn't like share that information. Whereas now very much so, I feel like if you look at my brand and website and everything, it like it has some European vibes to it. And I definitely like share that aspect of the story. But at the beginning I was not doing that because I wasn't sure how customers would feel about that. Um
That's really interesting.
yeah. But anyway, so basically so the question was how did I get customers at the beginning?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was quite the pickle, which I had to figure out. I started with Etsy. That was the very first thing I did because I figured Google's huge. What are the chances I'm going to work my way to page one of Google? Which in the end, I actually did do it, but at the beginning, it felt like this impossible task. um, but anyway, so I figured, okay, Etsy is like a smaller kind of, I don't know, easier to get to the top of the search results. So I posted some listings of my services on Etsy. And that was good. And I actually did get clients who booked me through that. But I noticed it was like typically quite low paid and very high fees on Etsy. So I was like, this is not the
Mm.
perfect mixture. And then there was a web design agency which had found, I think, some of my like design work. And then they asked me if I want to be a designer for them. And I was like, yes, because I have no clue how to get my own clients. So sounds great. Um, but wasn't the most exciting projects in the world. I like literally built a website for a retirement home and a rock star or like some rock band or something. And I was like, this isn't really my vibe. And also like the timelines and the pay wasn't fantastic. So I was like, okay, really need to figure out how you manage to get your own clients and customers because this is a problem. And so that's when I took some courses. And that's when I really started to kind of piece together and start to understand the whole like online marketing thing. And so the first thing which I did in the business was I started a blog and I do quite enjoy writing and I tend to be able to ramble quite a bit. So I could, make a 2,000 word post pretty easily. And so so blogging and SEO was the thing which like started me getting clients basically. And so it was kind of this miracle one day. I would see like month after month, the traffic would get more and more and more on the blog. And then eventually people were going to my services page. And then eventually they were filling out the inquiry form. And then I actually got a booking from it. And then once I got one, they just kept coming. And so that was the original way which I got clients in the business.
Yeah, wow, that's really impressive. It's a really impressive perseverance to be like, okay, like Google is going to be a harder road.
Yeah.
Like, what other avenues can I find? And I
Mhm.
think that's incredible. So you've started that way, and then now you are doing a lot of kind of online education, and that's really how
Mhm.
you're positioning yourself. How
Mhm.
did you get from the like I make websites to I
Yeah.
teach people how to make websites?
Yeah, this was also accidental, actually. Okay, so there was some strategy involved, and then there was some just coincidences, I guess you would say.
I feel like
So
that's life, right?
yeah, definitely. This is true. It's also like I feel like I have like an online education business and it started with a travel blog, which is like I just kind of ended up from one place to the other, which turned out to be a good thing. But anyways, so yeah, the way that it happened was I blogged to get clients, which I guess it turned out to be a benefit of the whole like a lot of people, they just stick to that sort of like in-person networking or marketing or referrals to get clients. And that keeps them, booked, but that is not like a super scalable type of marketing strategy. Whereas I went for a blog because because I was having to market myself online basically. And so I was blogging, I was building an email list from the blog. And so that ended up, I realized like that eventually, once the traffic, started building, then that actually led to me having way too many inquiries, and so I did work my way up in Google to be the actual first designer that came up when you search Squarespace website designer. It was Squarespace, it was Upwork, I think, and then it was me. And so then I was like, started getting a lot of inquiries, and I started realizing, okay, you have a new problem. You can't serve all these people. And so then I started looking at my different potential options. The options seemed like become a web design agency, um, launch a template shop or launch an online course. Those were the 3 which I was considering, and I decided to go for the course route. And so I created a course called Square Secrets, and my thought with it was, okay, if someone comes to me and I don't have time to serve them as a client, I could just direct them to this course and be like, "Hey, you just take the course. I'll teach you how to build websites, to the quality that I would do it, except you can do it yourself for like a fraction of the price of hiring me." Um, and so I launched the course and spent 3 entire months building it. So it took a while. So I had to do a little bit of a pause on the client work, in order to do it. But anyway, so decided to do that. And once it was interesting, I launched the course and I started doing Q&A calls with the students. And then the course and the actual content of the course was all about like, here's how you drag a spacer block at the time, and like, here's how you make your website look good, and here's the strategy behind a website, and all those things. But then when I got on the Q&A calls, all of the students were asking me questions, not about how to do XYZ in Squarespace. They kept asking me about how I was running the business. And I was like, that's weird because that's not what this course is about. But then I realized, they're I realized that most of the students were taking it not because I basically had the ideal client wrong, which I assumed that it would be a small business owner who then was like, "Oh, I don't have the budget for a custom designer, or Paige doesn't have time, so I'll just take this course and learn how to do it myself instead." And I realized actually the only people who want to spend 12 hours learning Squarespace are people who probably want to like learn this properly so they can offer it as a service. And so then, when students kept asking me about how I run the business, I launched a second course, which is Square Secrets Business, and then that is basically, like, how I run my web designer business is the second one. And so, yeah, I just kinda, like, went where the river took me, basically, and it took me into this, and so, yeah, that's how I ended up doing
That's
this.
that's so great. I love what you touched on there, where you were like, I got my ideal client wrong, and then you
Mhm,
actually understood who they were, took time to figure out what it was that they wanted, and then produced
mhm.
something else that is obviously hugely valuable.
Yeah, worked out in the end, so that's good.
That's really impressive. You kind of touched on a little bit in your story of like your content and the blogging that you do, and
Mhm,
like I know you have an amazing blog and your email kind of list, and you do YouTube, very
mhm.
minimal on the socials. How
Yep.
have you like produced this content system, and can you give us any insights into how it works?
Yeah. The content system is one of the things I enjoy the most about the business, actually. Which I guess also coming back to like this kind of worked out because when you end up running a course, what you end up doing is actually a ton of online marketing. I met this therapist the other day, and I was asking them about how much time they actually spend like marketing their business versus serving customers. And it was basically they spend all of their time just like doing therapy sessions with customers. And they just have like a Google My Business listing or whatever. They have some good reviews. They just constantly get customers. And I was like, huh, that's interesting. So when you run an online business, you spend a unbelievable amount of your time doing marketing work. And then when you have some sort of like passive or scalable product, you spend much less time actually on like the delivery and you spend much more time on the marketing. Anyways, that's random. Um, so yeah, the content system basically just started with the blog. And I did also do Instagram for like a while because I felt like I had to, but did not enjoy it ever. Um, and so yeah, quickly realized I really don't wanna do Instagram. And so I did actually drop it a couple years into the business. And thankfully, because I had already basically built another much stronger marketing channel, it didn't affect the business, which was fantastic. So I could say goodbye to it and not have it I was even ready for it. I was like, "I dislike this so much, even if it was a hit to the business, I'd be okay with it. It would be worth it to me."
Did you do
Anyway.
that as like a test where you're like, oh, let's see if I can turn it off? Or
Yep.
were you just like, no, I'm out?
No, yeah, great question. I definitely took my time on it. So I think I had been I don't know how long I'd been running the course for at that point, some amount of time. And so I had previously, like when I would launch the course, I would go on Instagram and I would do lives and do educational trainings about something related to the course. And then I would just post about like the events that we were hosting and the course enrollment opening and student success stories and all those things. And I would post that all on Instagram. And then there was one launch where I was like, you know what? We're just going to test not doing that. Like, we're just going to launch to the blog and to the email list. and that's it. And we're just not going to do Instagram. We're just going to see what happens. And I'm okay if this like takes a hit, and that's fine. And we did it. We saw no difference in the launch results. And I was like, that was the
Later.
yeah, exactly. That was the test which I needed to be like, I'm good. And I had actually even thought about it, I think for like a year. I I think I even waited like a whole year after I'd done that test of basically just not doing Instagram, but not really saying anything about it.
Yeah.
Like I
Uh-huh.
just kind of didn't post. Then I realized someone messaged us on like Instagram DMs being like, "Is your business still running? Because like you're," and I was like, "Oh, this is a bit of a problem. If you just have a social channel and don't post anything on it, then people think that your business died."
Oh, that is interesting. I never would have thought of that. Like,
Yeah,
you can't just leave it passively like a web page.
exactly. Exactly. And so that's what I realized. I was like, I need to post something on here. And so, anyways, I posted my breakup post on Instagram, which ironically has a ton of engagement and a bunch of people who were like, I mean, I'd never gotten such good comments on anything, like genuine engagement on something. And so many people being like, ah, I want to do the same. So, anyways, I basically shared like, I don't know, my thoughts on Instagram and where else you could find me in my business. Like the business isn't dead. I'm still alive. But I'm like, I had at that point already started the YouTube channel. Had the blog and the website and the email list. So I was like, go find me on those places. I'm still here. Business still exists. I'm still whatever, but I'm just not on Instagram. And ever since we've never gotten a message being like, is your business still functioning basically? Because if you go to the top of the feed, that's what's on the feed. So
Okay, right. So you still have the page
the
up.
page
So if
still
people are
exists.
looking for you, they just
Yeah.
you're just not active on it.
Exactly, and again, no one gets confused because it specifically says, like, "I'm on YouTube now," or something. I think it's
Go
like what
find me over here
what
where
it
I have
basically
more
says,
fun.
and the last post. So, yeah. Um, so yeah, that was my breakup with Instagram, and then the other thing which I did in the business, um, was I had done it a little bit for the blog, was I had just there was just some things that I just logically needed to make a YouTube video for because it was like some sort of tutorial. I was like, you know what, instead of screenshots and written text, this would make a lot more sense as a video. So I had created some YouTube tutorials, put them on YouTube just as a place to host the video, embedded them in the blog, never thought anything of YouTube itself. And then one day I got an email being like, "Hey, you're able to be monetized on YouTube." And I thought, "That's interesting. I haven't like really done anything on YouTube." And then I turned on ads and we started making a few $100 a month. And I was like, "Well, that's weird and interesting." And I was like, "I'm sorry, you want to pay me to do my marketing? That's great." Um, and also I just knew again, I was like, okay, this logically makes sense for the type of content I'm producing. A long form YouTube tutorial would like this logically make sense. And I started learning more about different marketing strategies. And at that point, I also had the capacity to take on another one. Like I'd done the blog for long enough. I was pretty systematized in doing it. And I had a team who could also help me with things. And so I was looking for another marketing strategy. I was trying to pick one. I did do a podcast for like 30 episodes, and I realized, I'm not sure if this was for me. Um, and again, coming back to like the YouTube made sense for what I was doing in the business. And so that's why I decided to start the YouTube channel. And so that has been something which has been, it truly brought me so much joy. I feel like in business, when you do the same thing for years and years and years, yeah, it gets boring sometimes, and so having YouTube, it was like a new thing to learn. I love learning, and so it was a new kind of topic to get into, which I really enjoyed. So
Uh, that's really interesting. I think like what I'm kind of hearing repeated in your story is like you do something that you enjoy doing, like the blogging, you enjoyed writing really naturally, and then it became this really big function for your business. And then
mhm.
you enjoy doing the YouTube and you didn't even plan on that being a thing and it just kind of happened. I really like that you were kind of diving into the bits that naturally suit you and you naturally enjoy and then seeing kind of what comes out of
Yeah.
it.
So on the one hand, that sounds nice. On the other hand, my husband teases me and he's like, "You literally can't do something you don't wanna do. Like, you just are not capable of, like, for" like, if I don't on the one it's like, yes, I follow what brings me joy, but I also am just, if I don't like something, it is so painful. That's the thing, when you run your own business, you don't have a boss to force you to do something, you're like, "Ugh, I don't wanna" coming back Instagram, I was like, "I don't wanna do it." So, yeah. I
really love that. Like it's clearly worked really well for you. And I think so often like we think that when we're on the internet, we can just kind of pretend and we'll make it work. But I feel like
Mhm.
people could see the genuineness of like, do you actually enjoy what you're doing? Like, are you actually kind of bringing yourself into that space? And if you're not, I think people can notice that and they can feel it and they
Yeah.
respond to it.
Yeah, I guess so, I'm not sure. But I think the thing which I've noticed the most is if you don't enjoy something, you don't or like me on Instagram, you don't tend to improve you just don't tend to end up being very good at it because that's the other thing. I probably hated Instagram because I was not good at Instagram. Um, so
It doesn't drive that curiosity to keep you like learning
exactly.
and doing more and
I'm
making
not
it better and better,
excited
which
to
brings
keep
that
trying
success.
to learn things, whereas with YouTube, I am really nerding out over YouTube strategy, so
That's awesome. Do you do like a lot of diving into the analytics and things and being like, okay, this is working really well. Let's do more of this. This isn't.
yeah.
Let's shelve that.
I've learned so many fascinating things about yeah, how a YouTube channel, like, works and functions. I think the most interesting thing which I learned is the so one day on YouTube, this was a fun analytic which I saw, which, like, led to a whole rabbit hole of thoughts. And it was basically it had shown me in my YouTube analytics, it was like, "Your click-through rate on this video is very low, lower than normal, but the video is getting a ton of views." And I was like, "That's odd." And then I had this little notification, and it said, like, "This video is being shown to a wider, colder audience beyond your normal, like, audience, I guess. And so therefore the click-through rate's really low, but we're showing this because we think it would be interesting to a wider audience, so therefore that's it's fine. Ignore the low click-through rate, basically." And I was like, That's interesting." And I had this that made me realize that what YouTube is basically doing is it's showing your video to the your current subscriber base, basically. And if they like that video and click that video and watch that video, then it will show it to a wider pool of people who are similar to those people. But if your own subscribers don't click and watch and like something, then it's absolutely not going to make it beyond your current audience, basically. And it's not going to get pushed further. And so I did a test one time. I was like I was debating like, okay, how do I build a better relationship with my audience and don't just be like talking head educational person of the internet? Maybe I should have some more like behind the scenes content of the business or like life content in there or something. And so I'd gone for a weekend to the Cotswolds to go to a footstool upholstery workshop because I like to upholster
Very
things.
specific.
Yes.
Footstool upholstery.
I like to craft things for my home.
Amazing.
Anyway, so I decided to, like, vlog the weekend, and then I put it on the YouTube channel, and so I put it on the YouTube channel has about 20,000 subscribers. I think it got, like, 2 or 3,000 views or so in the first, like, I don't know, I don't know, month, couple months or so. I took the same video and I posted it on a brand new channel, and it got, like, 6 to 7,000 views with no subscribers, and I was like, "Interesting." And it made me realize that, like, yeah, I do get very nerdy into the analytics of YouTube and find things out like this and try to, like, understand the algorithm better and how YouTube is, like, pushing content or who it's showing to or whatever. And so I have realized that, like, changing the direction of a YouTube channel can be very difficult, and it is a bit of a platform where they want you to stick to the thing that you've been producing on
Mhm.
there. Um, so that's
Yeah,
one thing which I've
that's
learned.
really interesting. I think it's
Yeah.
a really good thing, like, if anyone's starting out with, content creation or like you said before, like, I've got this part systematized, that's working really well. What's the next thing I do? Actually, like, when you produce that content, taking time to look at your analytics, what's working well, what do you wanna change, and experimenting with that a little bit.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep,
Are there
exactly.
any, like, tools that you just love with your content creation, whether it's YouTube or blog, or, like, stuff that you live and breathe in every day?
Yeah. Okay, so I would say the most useful thing which I'm using these days, is it's completely free. So there's vidIQ, which I think is like a paid software of some sort. I haven't seen the need for the paid software, but I think there's some sort of extension I added to my Google Chrome at some point. And so now if you go into a YouTube video in the title area, you type in whatever title and it'll give your title a ranking out of like 100. And so every time I'm writing a title now, I'm just writing like or myself in AI are writing many, many, many versions, and then I'm testing them all basically to see which one is doing best. So I would say that that is probably the most useful tool in terms of like trying to get things to hit well
That's
on
a
YouTube.
that's a good tip. That
Yeah.
title is so important, isn't it? Um, you've got a little bit of a team behind the scenes that help you produce
Yeah.
this content as well, don't you? Are there bits of the business where you're like, no, this is mine. I want to kind of keep focused on this, and then other bits that you pass off? Like, how do you
Mhm.
decide what roles you do and what roles your team does?
Yeah. That's a good question. How do I decide what I do and what the team does? So it's changed over time. One of the things I did actually outsource at one point was the content creation. And then I realized, and then I was doing other things, and I was like, "You know what? That's the thing I enjoyed the most, so, like, why did I give this to someone else?" So, yeah, I do the actual, like, content production is me, I would say, but then we have someone who helps with, let's say, like, content assistance. So it's like, I think of the videos, I'm doing the research on, like, what's gonna do well on YouTube and stuff, nerding out over that because I enjoy it. Um, and then I'm producing the actual like, writing a script, producing the video, that sort of thing. Figuring out the title and that sort of thing. I actually have someone who's helping me with thumbnails now, which is really nice. I was doing them just up till very recently because I know they're so important. So I'd given them away at some point, and I was like, "Nah, I feel like we're not 100% getting this. Like, let me do it myself until I get this really well, and then I can give it away again." But I'm going on maternity leave, and we have a ton. We have 6 months worth of content done now, and so I was like, "Okay, I'm not getting to all these thumbnails. I need help." And I gave it to a team member, and she did such a good job. And I was like, "Oh, what was I doing? I should have given this to you
So
before."
good. Yeah.
So yeah, but then someone takes the video and they'll like turn it into a blog post and they'll turn it into an email. And we have a video editor who edits the videos as well. Um, so yeah, that's what I would call like the content assistance side of it. So I'm basically like producing it and someone else is like finishing up the last bits and pieces and getting it like scheduled and everything. So that's what content looks like. And then um when it comes to the other parts of the business, so the other major part of the business which I do is like content for the courses or updates or additions to the courses, that sort of thing. Um, and excuse me, all the admin stuff, I do that, which is not my favorite thing, but it is what it is. um,
Just has to get done, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, I also operate the business in Switzerland, so whoever does it has to speak German. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah.
That's a
So
niche
there's currently
requirement.
only me, unfortunately. So yeah, there's that. And then my team, we have a team member who does, they basically manage our launches. Um, and also think up ideas for the actual, like, content of the events and stuff, but the actual implementation of an entire launch, which is a massive project, is someone else. And then we have an affiliate manager who, finds us and works with our partners to help them with our launches or, like, to participate in our launches. And then we have someone who does, like, customer service, content assistance, and then video editor. But even so, those are, like, the different roles, but even there's, like, one person who does multiple roles, and so I actually have a very small team, which brings me joy because the thing which I don't enjoy is admin and trying to coordinate 100 humans. I know some people love that. I have another business friend, she's a team of 20. I was just like, I could not think of anything I would enjoy
It's not
less,
for
and she
me.
loves
Yeah.
it. Like, she's like, "I don't wanna do anything, I just wanna coordinate humans doing things." I was like, I'm the exact opposite, but I respect that that's what you want.
It's so good, like, as you're expanding to start to understand what you love doing and what other people love doing. I know one thing as our team grew, one thing I did was, like, hold on to a lot of jobs that I thought other people would hate because I felt guilty giving them away to people.
Interesting,
I'd be like,
interesting.
"Oh, no, I won't make you do this because it's, like, the worst task," and then realizing that for them,
They love
it
that.
was a really exciting task, and
Yep.
actually I was not doing a good job because I wasn't enjoying
Mhm.
it. It was
Yep.
killing my enjoyment for showing up
Yes.
to work, and I was also holding them back from doing a job that they were gonna do
Mhm.
really well, so
Yep.
that's been a really fun thing for us to continue to learn, and as we bring in new team members, be like, "Cool, what do you actually love? Is it admin?
Exactly.
Awesome. Here is
Yep.
all of my admin."
Yep. Exactly. You love bookkeeping? Great.
Yeah. Absolutely. We are all so different as humans. You mentioned just then that you
Mhm.
are going on maternity leave soon.
Mhm.
Congratulations. That's so
Thanks.
exciting. You've kind of always championed this concept of like building a business that suits your life and
Mhm.
not like, being completely ruled by your business. As you've prepared for this stage of
Mhm.
your life and I guess taking some maternity leave, like what have you done to prepare for it? How have
Mhm.
you found that kind of approach to taking time off and stepping away from the business?
Yeah. It's interesting in that I have been okay, so I wasn't even 100% sure for the longest time if I want to have children, but I built the business in a way where I was like, you know what, you might, and so therefore you should think about this. So really from the very beginning, I was also coming back to that like original decision of like, I'm a website designer. Should I do agency? Should I do template? Should I do course? I was even thinking at that point, I was like, okay, well, you might have kids at some point, and therefore you might need to take some time off, and therefore which model makes sense. So I don't know why, but I've been thinking about this for quite a while. So I think the first most important thing which I did was I thought about the business model, which obviously is huge um, and very beneficial. So business model was something I guess I thought about years ago, and I've also even still within that though, like, there's many different ways that people can run courses, like, you could do cohorts of courses, you could have, I don't know, all these live support aspects, or you could have a membership too and stuff like that, where you're then showing up constantly or constantly producing new content for it and everything, and that's very commonly paired with a course, but I have always been very conscious of the way I've structured it, being like, "Okay, you might at some point wanna take a few months off, and how can you do that while still serving your people well into the same standard that you would otherwise?" Um, so I did actually get a call, so we do monthly Q&A calls in the student community, and I got someone on literally, I think it's like 3 years ago now, who does the calls with me every month. And then so yeah, the students have a relationship with that person, trust that person as well. So there will be a few months where I won't be on Q&A calls, but it's like no one has complained or been upset at all because everyone knows and loves Caitlin, so that's great. So yeah, there's that. And then I feel like the other thing is coming back to marketing strategies is, to be honest, if I didn't say I was going on my maternity leave, I don't think the internet would notice
Yes.
because
Wow.
what's coming out of the business is basically the same regardless. Um, so the fact that I do a marketing strategy as well, which I can produce that so far in advance, which again is like I've always appreciated that in the past anyways, because it does allow me to go take multiple weeks of vacation or travel or do whatever I want. And again, there's no to the outside of the business, you see no difference.
Mm.
So yeah, basically my big job once we got pregnant was okay, you need to get far ahead on content. And so I yeah, I've gotten the editorial calendar 6 months out, which I'm so thrilled about.
That is very impressive. That is very impressive.
Yeah, I did hack it a little bit though. I'll give you my fun YouTube hack for this one. There was a new coming back to YouTube analytics, there's a new stat that came out in the back end of YouTube, and it basically says the percentage of your viewers who are casual viewers, regular viewers, and something else. I have 3 different categories. And the vast majority of viewers for a YouTube channel are like people who watch your videos, a couple times. And the percentage of the people who watch like every single video is actually very small. Depends on the different channels and the different topics and everything. But basically, this YouTube educator who I follow was mentioning, you know what? That kind of indicated to me was I don't actually need like if I've already produced that video, sometimes people say, okay, take a video you produced and go make the same video again, but you know what you could also do? Just literally take the exact same video and then just post it again, instead of even having to, like, remake it. I was like, "Well, that's quite the idea." Um, and so I have redone introductions because I also realized the longer you do YouTube, the more you realize the things you were kind of butchering before. And so too flowery of introductions is a very common problem. Um or just not that's the other thing which I realized over time, was when you start a YouTube video, tutorial, whatever, you basically wanna show the end result, like, as if it's, like, some sort of interior design, like, extreme home makeover or whatever, is like you show them the
Right.
finished at the beginning, and then
And
you work
poked
towards
in
it.
with the end result. Yeah.
Exactly, yeah, because it's so satisfying, that before and after and everything. Um So I've learned some things over time. And then also the title and thumbnail basically gives you a second crack at the title and thumbnail, which is so important to a video without having to go and produce an entirely new video. So I've done a lot of like just redoing intros and then titles and thumbnails. And so half of that 6 months of content is genuinely new content. And the other half is me taking old videos, which we've posted, and like redoing little bits of it. Maybe doing some slight tweaks because we can also see a retention graph in the back end. We can see when people tend to like drop off in a video. So I gave the video editor access and was like, if you notice any big drops, then obviously like crop that bit too. So yeah, half of that content is actually old content, which is
That's
interesting.
that's a great. You mentioned something there where you said like from the outside, people aren't going to notice that the business changes, and I think that's a really important distinction to make. That often we struggle with is like for us, we are so aware that we're taking that time off. We're so aware that we've been like away from our laptops for a day. But if you set it up in a way that your audience doesn't know that and they're still getting that value from you, then you don't have to have that stress.
No, you don't need to feel guilty. I mean, you're still serving your people well and they're still getting exactly what they were getting before, and that's totally fine. So yeah, I'm really
That's brilliant. You obviously, like you mentioned, like as soon as you kind of knew that you were going to be having this time off, you started like producing that content. If someone's like thinking about taking a bit of time off, maybe it's
mhm,
maternity leave, or maybe
mhm,
they just want to go on a holiday, or they're just
mhm.
needing a little bit of a break for some reason. Like, are there any kind of like first steps that you would say, like, get this sorted and then you'll be able to have that kind of freedom?
It's a good question. I guess it depends so much on like what is the work that you're doing every day. Are you doing client projects or are you doing content, or do you mean specifically related to content or related to anything, or
I guess anything in your
yeah.
business, the content is obviously something we've kind of touched on here, but there's a
Mhm.
huge amount more to your business as well. Like, what kind of things did you put in place that allowed you this
Yeah.
freedom?
I think okay, so one of the things which I did a few years ago, we had taken a course about like, I don't know, efficiently running a business and a team and everything. And one of the most useful things I did was I actually tracked my time because when you work for yourself, it's like, I just don't. I don't need to send an invoice somewhere with my hours. Um, but anyway, so I did actually do this time tracking exercise and basically had to then note, okay, what is a good use of my time? What should be sped up? What should someone else actually be doing? And you really had to get like serious about you had to confront what you were actually doing. And if you're just sitting down at your desk and you're like, "Where is the day going?" Then this is an extremely useful exercise, and so I actually did it for a week, myself and all my team, and then we learned a lot from that exercise, actually. Um, and a lot of what the inefficiencies were, and a lot of actually realizing what we were spending our time on, and so I especially think that that would be useful to do if you're gonna be going away, because then you realize, okay, well, what has to happen regardless anyways? Like, there's some things that you could yes, I can just get super far ahead on that, but, like, filing my taxes, I can't get away from that, for example. So do I get someone else to do that? Am I planning my maternity leave? Obviously, you're not planning your maternity leave around that, but if you're planning a vacation, for
Around the
example,
tax
I don't know.
season, isn't that how everyone plans their families around tax season?
No. Um Yeah, so I would say that that would be a really useful exercise to just get like a really clear list of what it is that you're actually doing. And then you can also start to that's the other thing is like if you are at the point where you want to hire team members and you think, okay, I want to build a business that I can have some freedom from. Maybe when it comes to making the decision of what you're giving to someone else is like, you know what, stuff that has to be done every single week. Actually, I would like that to not be on my plate, and I would like that to be on someone else's plate, for example. And then maybe you're doing the things which can also be batched and done ahead of time and whatever, so that you are building the business in a way that gives you a bit more freedom.
That's so good. That's such good advice. I appreciate your insights there from the system queen of how you will take that time off. That's fantastic. Hey, I want to switch gears a little minute and go into some of these kind of reoccurring segments that we have on the podcast. So, the first one is, do you want to show us a little insight into your website and maybe something on there that you love?
Yes, definitely. Okay, one second. Let me share my screen and share. There we go. Okay. You can see this okay? So what we have here is my homepage. And I actually want to show you something which I did with SquareKicker, just because, it's fun. So I am not a coding kind of person. I tried to teach myself multiple occasions and it was not respect to all you developers. I'm not one of them. um, so when I was going to build my website, I had heard about SquareKicker. This is literally not a plug, and Hannah did not ask me to say this, but anyways, um, yeah, I wanted to play around with it, and so I just, downloaded or added it onto my website. I had so much fun specifically with this thing, which is basically people have asked me on multiple occasions, like, "How exactly did you do that?" So I basically have, like, 2 different sections here. So one section is all of the content that you see as it is right now on the page. And then the second section is this bit with these, like, vertical images kind of placed on the left and right-hand side, and then it also has a gradient in behind, which I did with SquareKicker. And so this is basically one section scrolling over the other section, is what's happening in that little piece there.
Looks so good. It's such a fun way to like have that content really nice and clear and then add some
Mhm.
like fun visuals on top. It's beautifully
Right?
done.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of those things which I feel like you really I mean, unless you're a professional coder, which I am not, like, you need something like SquareKicker to manage those things.
Makes it easier.
Um,
Yeah, for sure.
and then the other thing which I really enjoyed about this website, I really wanted to think about, like, how could I design something that didn't just feel like a website that had some other sort of like fun aspects to it. So something which I did was I had this crest when we did our branding. I had this crest made, and then I had it. It basically, I don't know if you can even see it. It's like very faint and minimal, but in the top left hand corner, there's a crest which looks like embossed basically. So I managed in Photoshop to get it to do this like embossed look. And so basically how I hacked that one there is just the background is green and then it's the exact same like color code of green for the embossed logo there. And then as we come down, um, what else? Du-du-du. Oh yeah, that's scrolling across the page, so that's also SquareKicker right there. And then, I did the same I use that embossing thing quite a few times on the website. I also did it for the most loved articles. Again, coming back to, like, wanting it to look a little bit less like a website and sort of having some more, like, texture to it, I got this, image. It's basically like a how do you say? Looks like a piece of parchment paper or something, which I use as background. I've also seen people do really cool things with like what looks like a canvas, sort of like a paint canvas. And then I also made this, which I had quite a lot of fun with, which it basically looks like a postcard. And so I made it in Canva. And then I also made my own stamp, which I just had a lot of fun doing.
Oh, that's
Um,
cool.
yeah, so it's a Paige Brunton stamp, which is fun. Um, so yeah, I'd say that's probably the most fun or interesting pieces of the design, which are
That's beautiful. I love all the little extra pieces that you've put in there. It feels really warm and really welcoming.
yeah, thank you. Yeah, I really had such a good time doing it. That's one of the things I miss is, not getting to design as much anymore. It was really fun to get to put that together.
No, it is beautiful work. It's really beautiful work.
Thank you.
Um, right. We're on for now a design confessional. So,
Mm.
have you got a fun story about something that didn't go so well for you that maybe you learned a hard lesson from, or you can just laugh about now?
Yeah, there was one that literally just happened, like, a month ago. We put so much effort in when we go to do our, like, launch events and, like, free trainings and everything, and so we have been hosting things inside of a Facebook group for the last few years just because the community that you can have in there and, like, we have such a good time. Like, we don't just host a live event. Yes, we're hosting trainings, we're hosting live events, we're doing Q&As, those typical things, but we would also put together, like, a community for, like, a pop-up group for a week, and, um there's always so many interesting conversations that happen in there and so much good feedback that we can, like, share with people who are starting as website designers. Like, we can get people to do posts about, like, "Okay, share a website you did and, like, what price you charged and everything," and then we can talk about, like, what it should have been or whatever, or, like, giving feedback on designs, that sort of thing. Um, Unfortunately, Facebook is not the most reliable place to host a live event, and this had happened to us once before, and we're like, "It's okay, it's fine." No. Happened to us the second time. we went to go to our launch for our course. The live video, we had to like restart it 3 times, 3 different links, and like it was just I was so annoyed with Mark Zuckerberg. It's just so unreliable as like a platform to go live on and doesn't connect well and play well with other softwares. So anyways, that was very annoying and disappointing.
There
Um
is nothing quite like the feeling of like being ready to go live and you know you've got people waiting and it not working and you're just like, there is nothing you can do. It is a tough moment.
it was a tough moment for me. It was not fun. But anyway, so we ended up re-hosting. It definitely like affected people's ability to like get on the event and everything, and it also like totally screwed up our timing and stuff. So that was unfortunate. But anyways, we re-hosted the event the next day on YouTube. So as much as I love the communities that we would previously have in Facebook and stuff, the like ability for your, training to actually be live at the right time is definitely unfortunately more important. So we're going to be definitely switching to YouTube in future for those sorts of things. So
Uh,
that was Facebook's last straw. So it's that's that.
yeah, it's definitely a live and learn moment, isn't it? Of like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's not do that anymore.
Nope.
Um, Stepping away from your computer, then, what do you do when you're not running this amazing business to kind of like recharge and bring a bit of freshness back?
Okay, so we live in Switzerland now, and we have just hit the jackpot of country. It's such a beautiful place. It's just the nature is incredible, and I love to ski. I'm Canadian, and if you grow up in Canada, it's a very long winter, and if you don't have a winter sport, you do not enjoy your life. So I've always been a big skier, and now having the world's most incredible ski hills at my doorstep has been so fantastic. So yeah, and like from the ski hills actually, okay, so it is I don't know when you're gonna release this. Anyways, I will just say from like November to April, you can go skiing here. And so that is just the greatest thing. And yeah, that's where you will find me for half the year, and then the other half of the year, there's incredible lakes, and my husband and I take a paddleboard, and we go out on them, and there's a lot of, like, beautiful they're beautiful, I don't know, villas and mansions on the water, and so we will take our paddleboard and go enjoy the views of the mountains and the lakes and the my husband was like, at some point, like, "People are gonna think we're gonna rob their house or something because we, like, constantly are going on the same piece of wa la we just
Just
have our favorite
pointing out,
spots."
be like, I'd like that one. And yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely judging houses from the water. So if you see us come by on a paddleboard and we're like, I'd paint those shutters that color."
Like, we're
Anyways.
not gonna rob you, we're just
No,
judging
we're
your
not gonna rob you, we're just gonna
choices.
judge your
Yeah.
mansion.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fantastic. That sounds
so
amazing.
those are the main things that we enjoy doing here, so yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Hey, thank you so much for spending some time with us, particularly right before you go away on maternity leave. I really appreciate that. If people want to kind of get in touch with your resources or connect them with any of your courses, or how
Mhm.
do they do that? Have you got something coming up that you want to share
Yeah.
with us?
Yes, yes. I would say so pagebrunton.com and our YouTube channel always has fantastically useful content on it, even when I'm on maternity leave. Um, some of it repurposed, as you now know my little secret. Um,
Refreshed. Yeah.
refreshed. Exactly. That's a much better term. Refreshed content. So yeah, that is I would also say, do join our email list. That is the best place where
Okay.
we keep you up to date with all like the live events that we're hosting. We do a few times throughout the year host live events which are free and fabulous, but not on Facebook anymore. To help you with building a web design business. So if that's of interest to you, do hop on the list. So yeah.
So fun. Yeah. And if you go to the website, there's something that I would totally recommend checking out because it's super fun, which is a quiz that you've got on there
Oh,
about like, what's it called? Which client finding method matches your personality type?
yes.
It's really fun. I was having a little play on it before we had this
Yeah.
chat. And I was like, ooh, that's so good. And such a useful thing for people to
Mm,
understand, particularly in these times where it's been a bit of a hard year for people and you might be struggling to find clients. So that's a really cool resource to go check out.
yeah. If you do a marketing method you actually enjoy, it tends to work a lot better. So definitely do to go take a quiz.
Absolutely. Hey, well, thank you so much for joining us here. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Thank you, Paige, for all that you've shared. And we hope you enjoy the next 6 months of your time off.
Thank
We
you.
look forward to connecting with you again. Thanks, everyone.